This is Magnus Carlsen, world number 1, and his opponent, Arjun Erigaisi, Indian superstar, playing with white. It's the World Blitz Team Championships. They're battling it out in their respective teams for like 5th place or something. The big fat losers end of the competition. This, however, was an absolute masterpiece of a game. It started with pawn d4 by Arjun, blitz chess, clock times on the left, over the board in Hong Kong, Magnus playing the King's Indian defence. The game goes on for over 100 moves. It's just an incredible battle. I hope you love it as much as I did. What's the main move? Striking with the pawn in the centre. What does Magnus do? There you go. A little pawn side quest on the edge of the board. Always going for these sidelines is Magnus, and Arjun just fights back with some standard development. Now we see a kind of Sicilian move. No one's got this in their opening repertoire unless your name's Magnus. If you want to learn a proper one, check out Lotus Chess, link below. Does end games as well, free to get started. Incredible. We now see takes on c5 and queen a5 thrown in, not the standard recaptures. And the point is, if you keep munching, then there's knight takes on e4, and you got un, deux, trois, pressure on this poor pony. If you want to munch once more, eventually the pressure tells. Something like this is pretty good for black. This kind of thing. Not the way you want to go. So we didn't see takes. Now bishop d3 was played instead. Queen takes on c5 therefore. Castles, and Magnus is in a tough position. You know, this bishop's stuck at home. Where should it develop? Can't come here or here. On e6 is it any good? Knight d5's coming. Magnus goes for this. Kills his bishop, but at least plugs this hole. Can't get my breath. Far too excited. We see queen d2 in response, maybe hinting at exchanging bishops. This seahorse develops into the game and rook fd1. And we see one of the big problems with Magnus's structure, this weakened pawn. How's Magnus going to fight back? Well, as usual, he goes dynamic. He's worse, clearly, but he spins the knight around. Bishop e2 now. This one hits the centre of the board, and a great fight back move from Arjun against a bit of central shenanigans. Knight a4. And now he hits the queen, opens up the pressure on d6, and after takes with check, bishop recaptures. Magnus can't even exchange the prisoners. Because if you do this, there's knight b6, and you just can't get out the forking way in time. You're losing a piece, not even just an exchange. So let's run back. Queen d4 goes for that queen exchange. Magnus loves it. Arjun allows it. Magnus's fans bleating away. Would you look at them there? They love it when he plays. Super fans. And b5 now. Striking. If you'd have tried to defend this pawn, white simply doubles, and if you try and defend once more, then this c pawn just rips things open. You can't take because of the pin. If you try and push past, then there's all sorts of problems. Hopping, rook b8, then taking, or even flicking bishop f4. It's really bad. So let's back it up. Magnus abandons the pawn, just thrusts with that b pawn, goes for the counterplay. Arjun hops, rook saves itself, and now takes on b5, ripping open the c file for a rook. It's on the way, but first rook takes on d6, winning a clean pawn, hitting a knight. This is awful for Magnus. Look at Eval Barovic. It's +3 to white, and Magnus is only a pawn down. Boy, is he playing some stinky chess lately. This is an idea. So rook d2 was played to cover the square. This knight now backs up. What to do? Looks weird, but a3 was on the way. Rook c1 hits it once more, and it re-centralizes. Hits the bishop. Lovely. But Arjun just backs up. f4's on the way. Magnus finally gets his bits out. Hits this e-pawn. But here it comes. Pawn f4. Arjun roars like an Indian tiger. Beautiful stuff. Takes. Knight d7. Not even recapturing the pawn there. Can't get the word out. A massive fork. Magnus is in trouble. He picks up a central pawn. Rook recaptures. But look at this runner here. Arjun snaps off here. And Magnus just backs up. It is in fact the best move. Centralising. At least you got one good bit. A centralised pope. But you're fighting against an extra rook here for that exchange. Rook c7 is best. But Arjun slides here. They are low on time. Getting tricky. And the big difference now is that when Magnus takes, played in the game, you can't play rook takes on b2. If the rook was on c7, then you could now play check, king up, and bishop d4, check, winning a rook. With the rook on a4, you don't have the check, the bishop covers the square. So that's why rook here was a bit more precise, one move ago for white, setting up the tactic. But this is the actual game. Arjun goes for the exchange of the bishop pair. We know how well they work together. He's still got the outside passer as well as the extra exchange. This is so tough for Magnus Carlsen, but rook a4 is the most precise move. Arjun pushes the pawn. And just like that, Magnus is fighting back in this game, setting up the fortress here. He wins the side quest of putting all the pawns on light squares. h4 in response from Arjun, king g7, rook e2, and the name of the game now for Magnus is wait, shuffle, keep it tight, don't let black open up some crazy lines for those rooks. But watch this, Arjun right here creates the kind of trouble that Magnus didn't want. He's pressuring the bishop, and Magnus should play something like bishop c6, bishop b7, but in the game, rook a2, and it allows this killer shot. f5, and of course you can't take with this pawn, it's pinned to the king, and you can't take with this pawn or drop a bishop. And because of that, the structure's getting ripped open here. The rooks are now firing. This is a technically lost game for black. But of course Magnus is going to battle. This is an imprecision. King g1, apparently best. I didn't look into the details of why. Maybe it's to start trying to slide over towards the a pawn. Not sure. Or prepare rook f2 to exchange. But in the game, although then you drop that pawn, so maybe ignore me. Take the Lotus Chess Endgame course. This isn't the most precise anyway. Shed some advantage. Magnus now backs up. Rook g3, or c4 rather. The rook's on g3. Rook c4 offers the pawn. But if you take, there's rook c7 check. And some nasty stuff starts happening. When I clicked and clicked and clicked, it's not to say that it's lost. You could go for this. But Magnus prefers this. Centralise. Pope d5, hit the rook, stay in control, stay stalwart, defended, cementoed, behind this pawn, make Arjun prove something, and that's the thing. It's not easy to win such positions, especially when you're playing Magnus. This bishop now holds the pawn, as well as a8. There's some crazy tactics to come. Check backs up the king. There goes the pawn. Thankfully it's under lock and key for now. If your name's Magnus Carlsen, king activating, check, back. Is there more than a repetition? Yes, there is. You bet there is. This is Arjun finding tricks, going for tactics. You can't take, or the king's in check. So what does Magnus do? Rook takes on a7. Stunning counter shot. If rook takes, not forced, you could go rook f8 or something. Well, this is the point. It was played in the game and Magnus takes here. And he's saying, fine, you've got the extra rook, but prove it, win it. I've got a bishop on the light squares. Check from the side's actually best, but it's a very long line, pretty complex, involves sacking the g4 pawn to then run the h pawn at the right moment, supported by the rook on a5. None of it played. Arjun spins around, hits the bishop. They're playing on seconds, of course. We're never going to get the top precision chess, but what a fun battle it is. There's still like 60 moves to go. We're just halfway through. Arjun's shuffling around, so is Magnus. Can Arjun make inroads? You bet he can. King f3 was best. This is a massive blunder by Magnus. What should white play? Rook takes on e2. And this is just a dead lost endgame. When you run it through, white's in time just, but it's enough. And eventually you corral the pawn or checkmate the king. Something like this. There's an example, mate. So you can technically chop off here. But Arjun not sure, low on time, doesn't do it. Magnus backs up, we're back to a drawn endgame. In theory, but theory's one thing, right? Practice is another. There goes the e-pawn, king rotating around. Now we see rook a7 coming in to check from the side. It's tense, lots of people around the board watching, been going on for ages, and bang, as you can see, takes. And we've got ourselves a pawn race. This is epic. Magnus positions the king to promote the pawn. And yes, we see it. The fourth lady made on the board in this game. Ray Robson's beside himself, asking the big questions about the pawns.
They're changing into a different piece. They're not going to be themselves anymore. It's like, you know, am I myself if I change into someone else? Like, it's existential questions for the pawns.
What's going to happen now? Check is played and whack. Arjun eats the g-pawn. And what's so exciting about this is the end game is drawn. You run this with an engine, it will check that white king all day, even as you start pushing the pawn. But proving it's a draw is so tough, because the moment you let white block a check and counter check on the black king at the same time is the moment you lose the game, because then the pawn goes through. So black has to keep the queens on the board. This is the key thing. This is the reason that Magnus has run the black king all the way to the opposite corner, now even to b1. Always play it right. He wants to be as far away as possible from that pawn and king and queen. No counter checks for you, sir. I'm going to check you all day. I'm the goat of the end game. This is bread and butter to me. This is mash and gravy. This is, I don't know, pick your favourite food. A corn dog or something. What are they eating at the World Cup? Let's eat that.
Mushrooms.
Magnus keeps checking. We're into move 110 with king f6, and you just know what's coming, right? You just know there's this absolute drama to finish this game. Unbelievable scenes as Magnus Carlsen checks this king all over the board. He knows it's a draw, Arjun knows it's a draw, but Magnus goes wrong with queen d7 check. You know, you could check from d4 or g1. They're fine. This one's bad. Look and look and look. It's the crisscross applesauce. And that's game. Magnus resigns because it's a check and then a counter check. You have to swap the queens. King recaptures. Pawn goes through. And that's all she wrote. Epic battle. 119 moves. Magnus still struggling this tournament, you've got to say. He's in a rough patch. Hope you enjoyed this one anyway. Have a look at Lotus Chess down below in the description and the video on screen if you want to see another epic game of chess. Cheers.